All right, popping back in, party people. This is your man, Professor Nails. I'm signing back in with your boy, the Casual Rand,
What up, though?
Coach Dave,
Huh?
Boston Jared.
What up?
We are the Pundits of Pugilism. Make sure that you do like and subscribe. Our second segment of the night is we're going to focus on the performance of David, the Mexican monster, Benavidez, who had his. I believe I should go check. I think he actually had a fight above 168, but this was really like his kind of formal introduction to light heavyweight, and he took on Alexander Volsdik in a fight that was really to kind of see where he kind of set. I thought it was one of those kind of almost perfect matchmaking because the thing about Volsdik was a former lineal heavyweight champion. So the man who beat the man who beat the man, he got this by stopping Adonis Stevenson, who had stopped Chad Dawson, and his only loss was to Altu Benavidez, and this at that time of the stoppage, he was actually up on two of the three scorecards. So this is a legitimate, but he was somebody who took. I don't know if it could have, but after that fight with Benavidez, he actually retired for about 4 years. Came back, fought three nondescript fighters, fared pretty well in there. But I thought it was a good fight to kind of test out David Benavidez to kind of see how his power, his stamina, and all those other things would kind of situate itself within the light heavyweight division.
He's food.
What's that?
He's food up there.
He is. I think he acknowledged
food.
as much. He acknowledged as much. And Boston, I'll throw it to you. He said that he is not done with 168 pounds. He stated that in the post, and I think he's right. I mean, against somebody like Bivol or Benavidez, I mean,
Morrell will cook this kid.
I would like to see more empirical evidence from Morrell. I mean, he passed the eye test, but Morrell doesn't have a top 10 fighter on his ledger.
Fair enough. He don't have a top 10 guy on his resume, but Morrell was about the same size as Bosdick, is what it looked like to me. Not having stood next to either one of those guys, Morrell is a massive, skilled, technical guy with every tool in the tool bag. But we'll get there.
Yeah, but I mean, tell me about so how do you think? I mean, he still won a comfortable decision.
He did, and you know what?
Very and this guy was in shape. This was no push.
Bosdick definitely came in shape. Or like all the Eddie Reynoso fighters these days, they all look great. They all look great. They all abbed up. They got the veins and everything.
He was like
every single one.
37 years old. I was like,
I know, right? Didn't he look good? Look, man. What all that fight came down to, and Coach Dave had made the point in the prediction last week about Benavidez's hand speed and his ability to put punches together, and that's all this came down to. Benavidez was able to his hand speed, his ability to put punches together. Bosdick's inability to avoid punches, get his head offline, catch block. It really was that. And look, Benavidez did win that fight. I don't think there was anything controversial about the outcome of the fight. But the one thing that I pointed out last week was the interesting thing to me about this fight was not if Benavidez was going to win this fight, but how Benavidez looked in winning this fight. And to me, he looked like a guys who we've seen before who dominate at lower weight classes. As soon as they move up, start fighting guys their own size, they start looking very, very, very ordinary. And that's what Benavidez looked like to me. He looked very, very ordinary at 175 pounds. Now, that being said, that don't change shit about him at 168 pounds. He gets in there with Canelo Alvarez. He's going to steamroll Canelo Alvarez.
Wow.
Alvarez he's just too small. He don't have the output, and he's not going to be able to hurt Benavidez. Benavidez is he's bulletproof at 168 pounds, except against a guy like Morrell, who's bigger than him, who can shrink down just like him. So yeah, it don't change anything as much as far as the Canelo fight is concerned. I don't really see anybody else at 168 pounds giving this guy any trouble. At 175 pounds, I would love to see him get in there with an Anthony Yard at 175 pounds and see if he can take those shots from Anthony Yard. Because I'd give Anthony Yard a very good shot at beating a guy like Benavidez at 175 pounds. He ain't gonna be able to take them shots from Anthony Yard. Anthony Yard is huge, explosive. He can hit hard. He's half decent defensively. All that shit about all this shit about him beating up B-ball and sparring. You got to show me that. I want to see that with no headgear and 10 ounces on, because I don't believe that shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, they also said that when he was a teenager, he gave Vosdick the biz. Like Vosdick even admitted it. Like this young kid kind of gave me the business. Like,
yeah, and look, he won. He put hands on him. He put hands on him on Saturday night, but it didn't really seem to affect Vosdick. And look, yeah, Vosdick is a pretty decent sized light heavyweight.
And this guy was going to the. I thought that the
arm punches. They arm punches.
Arm punches.
There you go. They arm punches.
Arm punches.
They arm punches, and his footwork is horrendous. That's why he's not able to get the right leverage on them shots. He's not able to get the right distance on them shots. They're arm punches. He's flat-footed. He's squared up to guys, and a guy like Andre, I've seen Andre as a kid. This kid was a string bean. He's really grown into that frame he's in. But you're talking about a 154-pound guy who's moved up to 168, whose durability has always been a little bit questionable, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's well, I don't know if his durability has been questionable, but when you say 154-pound who's moved up, you know who that sounds like to me? It sounds like Canelo Alvarez. Well, like I don't see, but you. So
well, we already addressed that.
Well, I don't know. I still think that Canelo, that the best thing that might have come from this fight is that Canelo might have been emboldened by this performance.
He ain't going nowhere near that. Dude, ain't stupid.
So they ain't stupid. What did you think about Benavidez?
Well, Boston hit it on the head, bro. Okay, so every single thing that Boston said. And the only thing that I would point out is, I'm telling you, you guys go back and watch round 11. Seriously, go back and watch round 11. Tell me if you don't see every single thing that Boston just said. Arm punches. He got off a couple of body shots, man, but bro, he wasn't sitting down and really, putting no grit in those punches, man. And it might work at that lighter weight like that. So, but solid performance, man. But what I'm getting at is, hey, at this weight, man, you have got to put on some more strength, and you can develop even harder punches. People tell you you can't train or grow power. No, throw the damn shots accurately and in the right manner, sitting down on those punches, and you're gonna throw it harder. I can damn throw a hook like, or I can throw a hook like, Technique has something to do with the force in a damn punch. And Benavidez, man, his feet, man, just that. And I love the guy, man. I love the guy. But I'm telling you, I got nothing else to say. Boston said it all, man. This guy was arm punching, and you can't do that at 175. I'm sorry. You can't do that at that weight, especially with his high guard. A strong joker like fucking Benavidez, whoever hit this cat in his damn with a body shot, and pushing that joker's navel up to his chest, and it's gonna look like he got 3 nipples. So I do think he can participate, he can compete at 175, but I think just the fundamentals of boxing, the damn science, bro. The science has just got to get in this guy, man. And I think he just needs a little bit more muscle, a little bit more strength to be at that weight. But solid performance. He beat the guy. But he, as Boston said, and as I predicted, it's going to be that hand speed and bunches of punches that got him through that fight.
So the Kajran, so just from his appeal, I think that he might have lost a little bit of luster. I'm not sure, but he was considered the boogeyman, partly, and I think rightfully so. This was because of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson confronted one of the Charlo brothers. I think it was Jamal Charlo, gave him his nickname. And then part of his mystique was being this fighter who was just the most avoided fighter at 168 pounds. Now, what would you like to see him go forward after this fight? Would you like to see him get his body in the best condition that it can and then try to campaign at 175 pounds? Or do you think that he should suck down a little bit, still campaign at 168, and try to chase a fight with Canelo that doesn't seem to be any closer than it has been?
I mean, but my thing is the way his body is built. He looks more like he just big frame, but he don't. If you look at him, his chest, he don't have a big chest. He ain't got big arms. So it's just a big frame. So he looks huge at 168. But 175, he was actually the little guy in there. But what saves him is he's very active. He throws a lot of bunches. He throws punches in bunches. And to me, he will be limited at 175. I still think he can get a Bivol. Bivol isn't a knockout artist. Bivol ain't gonna knock you out. So if you just outproduce a boxer, you got a chance. You know what I'm saying? Bivol ain't gonna get you out of there. Bivol, and if Benavidez just outworks him, then we're gonna have a 12-round decision. But I don't think
that's one of the critiques that you could have for that is like he slowed down like precipitously.
He sure did. He gassed.
He slowed down. Yeah, he slowed down and he was gassed out.
You do that against B-ball, he's gonna be running your head. Like he's gonna be possibly even stop you slow down against B-ball, you're gonna be in trouble, particularly if you're not as defensively responsible as a Canelo.
Yeah, but for him to be dominant, he has to be at 168. He's not going to be dominant at 175. Benavidez puts him to sleep. I think so. Yard to be a great fight. You know what I'm saying? But
Yard's a good fight.
But number 2 in the WBC though, so he can hang his hat on that. So right now, if he was looking for ranking in the WBC, he probably he'll be like number 2 or
at 175. If going to the boxing scene, both him and Morrell are still the secondary champions within the WBC and the WBA, respectively. Now, with that win at 168, with that win at 175, I assume he takes Vosdik's place as number 2 in the WBC behind Buatsi, who was the number 1 in across the board at 175. Buatsi's won the WBC, the WBA, and the WBO. So
at this point in my career, I'm not trying to build my name at 175. I'm just going to fight the sexy fights, which is, you know what I'm saying, maybe a Yard and then Bivol. Other than that, I'll stay at 168 and then just fucking try to unify at 168 and fight anybody. Because I think this year, let's prayerfully, the end of this year, they strip Canelo of some belts. Because, you know what I'm saying, there's no need for him to be just sitting on shit and not fighting.
Holding belts hostage, right.
Yeah, so
but he could fight. I think a fight against David Morrell is a lot closer than Boston thinks, and even against. I think that people will come out for a fight against Jaime Munguia. I think people will
Yeah.
And
I think Morrell needs a couple of more fights to be a bigger name here in the United States before people be like, yo, that Benavidez Morrell fight is the fight of the year. You know
well,
what I'm
that's
saying?
that's the problem, though. Nobody will get in the ring in this kid. They asked Berlanga about this kid, and Berlanga act like he ain't know who he was, man.
Because they're promising Berlanga. I wouldn't know who he was either. They're promising a fight with Canelo Alvarez, and like
they know
you
who
get
he
this
is. They all know
monster.
who.
Yeah,
They all know. They
I'd be
all know
like,
who he is.
I would Belonga. I'd be like, no speak I'd forget how to
Well,
speak
that's
English
see
or
now.
something
See,
like
for
that.
me, that's a huge issue, right? Because for me, Morrell fights a lot better than Berlanga does, right? Berlanga's got this so-called following, his Puerto Rican fans that follow him. Give Morrell a shot at a guy like Berlanga. He'll destroy Berlanga, and then hopefully he takes some of that fan base with him. Hopefully, that's the theory. If it's me, if I'm the promoter and I'm writing the checks, Morrell's a more talented guy. He can fight better than Berlanga. Don't protect Berlanga from Morrell. You give Berlanga the chance to show and prove against a guy like Morrell. It's sink or swim time, buddy. I mean, if I let you fight Canelo, you lose, then what? I gotta keep protecting you from. I mean, right? Eventually, these guys they have to fight. The fights have to have. That's one thing that this weekend showed us about this sport, man. The fights have to have. We can do all this podcast prognostication, based on the base. The fights have got to happen. Guys, go ahead.
What I was saying with David Morrell, there's a long history of that. He is the Cuban conundrum, right? He is a skilled, high-level fighter that nobody knows. So he is high risk, almost no reward in the sense, especially with a fighter who doesn't even have double. Was he 9-0? I think at this point. So
Morrell, he's got more wins than that. But yeah, I get you. My problem with that,
he's 10-0 at the he's 10-0 with 9 KO. Yeah. So he's 10.
My problem with that, Cam, is this: he don't fight like Rigo, he don't fight like Lara, he doesn't fight like Ulgas. This guy is an action fighter. High guard, come forward, press the action, get guys out of there. I can understand if he was a guy like Rigo, very, very defensive minded. He's not that type of guy. So these fighters, they don't have that excuse of not wanting to fight him or saying he's boring, this and that. That's not true, man. The kid is an exciting fighter to watch.
Yeah, he got 10 fights.
Yeah, he got 10 fights.
I understand that. William School is in a position to fight Canelo Alvarez with less fights, right? How many fights does School have?
That's only because Canelo can't dodge anyone else. He dodging everybody, and School is the only one who left with without a chair.
Yeah,
I'm calling for all-out boycott against your boy Canelo Saul Alvarez, but we'll go ahead and end that segment. But I think we're all in agreement that the Mexican monster needs to take his ass back down to
exactly.
Super middleweight at the time. But he gave it, and remember, this guy is only 27 years old. He has out there. Let him grow up a little bit. I think he needs to get with Coach Dave and get to this like conditioning program. Cause as we've seen, Mexicans can get cut up. We've seen some
without clenbuterol, as it turns
out. Without clenbuterol.
Without clenbuterol and Ostarine and Androlone, all this other shit, man. Yeah, the problem with that, and this is the last thing I'll say. If he gets in there and starts strength and conditioning, like a serious strength program, and adds muscle, he ain't gonna be able to cut down to 168. He'll really, really have to kill himself. Yeah. One of the reasons that he stays away from those weights is to be able to make 168 pounds. So if he starts putting on weight and adding strength to increase that punching power or whatever, he's locked in at 175. He's going to have to make his living up there.
All right. I think that's a great comment. I think that's the perfect way to end this segment.